If it's with the Collector, then it's not safe. Only an idiot would give that man a stone.
Or a genius.
How do you know he's not going for one of the other stones?
There's 6 stones out there. Thanos already has the Power Stone because he stole it last week when he decimated Xandar. He stole the Space Stone from me.
Nova, a character that many fans have been waiting to see in the MCU for a very long time. The writers of Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame have revealed that Nova was originally going to make his MCU debut in Avengers Infinity War. In fact, his introduction in Avengers Infinity War would have changed the entire beginning of the film, and it would have impacted some events that took place in both Infinity War and Endgame. In fact, it was supposed to be Nova, Richard Rider himself, that was supposed to take the place of the Silver Surfer in Avengers Infinity War. His character would then of course go on to play a role in Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. But sadly, of course, as we all know, this did not end up happening. How's it going, everybody? It's Warren, and today we have some news directly from the writers of Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame themselves about an alternate beginning for Avengers Infinity War that would have changed Infinity War and Endgame and would have also introduced Nova. And like I said, we previously learned that Nova was going to be introduced in Avengers Infinity War, but now we have a lot more information about what exactly was going to happen. And of course, right now there have been reports stating that Nova is actually going to be entering the MCU soon. So let's talk about what this alternate beginning, the original beginning for Avengers Infinity War, was supposed to be. Quick reminder about my Xbox One and PS4 giveaway. All you have to do to enter for your chance to win is be subscribed to my channel, like the video, and leave a comment down below. So on Thursday, comicbook.com had an interview with Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely, who of course are the writers of Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. And in this interview, the two writers revealed that Avengers Infinity War almost had a different beginning, one that involved the introduction of Nova and one that would introduce the Xandarian world mine. In the interview, they said, "We actually had, I remember in the big manifesto thing that we did, where the first work we did on these movies where we just, every possible storyline that you could take from what's around, the Nova has the Xandarian world mine." Yeah, the Xandarian world mine. Was that after it was almost going? In this conception, he would be the Herald, not unlike the Hulk, who was actually standing in for the Silver Surfer, but that one member of the Nova Corps survived Thanos' attack. The Xandarian world mine would be the voice of Glenn Close because you had her and why not, and that he would be Richard Rider and he would come to Earth. Christopher Marcus says that it would have been amazing, but in the end they decided not to introduce Nova into the MCU. This was because there was already so much going on in Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, and they were already introducing new things. Stephen McFeely ended by saying, "But you're introducing a whole new character when we're trying to say goodbye to all the ones that you know," which is ultimately why they decided to not introduce Nova into the MCU in Avengers Infinity War. So this would have changed the beginning of Avengers Infinity War, and not only the beginning of that movie, but it would have changed the events throughout Infinity War and Endgame. Because now we would have had a new character, Nova, so he would have had to fit in somewhere. Plus they were going to introduce the Xandarian world mine, which is a whole nother aspect on its own. So what was going to happen is that we were going to actually see the destruction of Xandar. We were going to see every single person of Xandar get destroyed except for Richard Rider, which would have made him inherit the Nova Force. Then we would have seen a scene with the Xandarian world mine, which I will explain in a second. And then we would have seen Nova, not the Hulk, crash into Doctor Strange's Sanctum Sanctorum, deliver the message that Thanos is coming, and then have his character arc play out through both movies as well. And going back to the destruction of Xandar, not only would we have seen that and Richard Rider getting the Nova Force, but we would have also seen the Xandarian world mine. Now, the Xandarian world mine is a huge Xandarian supercomputer. Now, the data of this supercomputer is entirely made up of the experiences, the histories, and the personalities of deceased members of the Nova Corps, along with the general populace of Xandar as well. The computer has two jobs. One is to preserve itself and the other is to act as a custodian to the Nova Force, which of course Richard Rider would have inherited as he became Nova. Now in the comics, the world mine was deactivated with the destruction of Xandar, which is probably what we would have seen in Avengers Infinity War since we would have saw Xandar get destroyed. And is something that we will most likely see when Nova is actually and finally introduced into the MCU. But this information does tell us a lot in terms of how Marvel is planning on introducing Nova into the MCU and what his story arc is going to be. Now, we actually have a lot of information in regards to Nova being introduced into the MCU from a lot of verified sources and from Kevin Feige, the president of Marvel Studios himself. Nova was originally supposed to be introduced in the first Guardians of the Galaxy film and will most likely be introduced in the next Guardians of the Galaxy film, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. There have been talks that he will be, and he should, be introduced in another movie before getting his own movie. This makes sense because not too many people outside of our fandom know who Nova is. He's not a huge character like Iron Man, Captain America, or the Hulk that everybody just kind of knows who they are. However, of course, our fandom does know who he is, and he is widely loved. He is a great character, which is why Kevin Feige has mentioned that Nova is on the top of their priority list as far as introducing him into the MCU goes. And Kevin Feige has still confirmed this to be true after Avengers Endgame. In a previous interview with comicbook.com, Kevin Feige said, "Nova is, if we have a big board with a bunch of characters that have more immediate potential, Nova is on that board. Because of the connection to the Guardians universe, because there are more than one examples to pull from in the comics that are interesting, and you're absolutely right, he was in the earliest drafts of Guardians of the Galaxy." So Kevin Feige said this in a previous interview, but when he was asked after Avengers Endgame if this was still true, he said, "Yes, still true, that's still true." So we know that he's going to enter the MCU soon, and now it seems like we sort of know how he's going to be introduced. We know that after the end of Avengers Endgame, Thor left with the Guardians of the Galaxy. However, we know that this probably won't last that long. Thor probably won't be in Guardians of the Galaxy 3 that much. If anything, he's just going to be in the very beginning. Because we know that Thor Love and Thunder comes before Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Thor Love and Thunder is going to be in Phase 4, and Guardians 3 hasn't even really been announced yet. So what we'll most likely see in the MCU take place is that in Thor Love and Thunder, the Guardians are most likely going to drop Thor off somewhere. We know this because we actually know quite a bit about Thor Love and Thunder. We know that Jane Foster Thor is going to be in the movie and that she is going to wield Mjolnir. So the story is definitely not going to focus primarily on Thor and the Guardians of the Galaxy. So the Guardians will drop off Thor and then they're going to go do their own thing. And we know that they're most likely going to search for Gamora, but one of the first things they're going to do is probably go to Xandar. In Avengers Infinity War, we learned, and the Guardians of the Galaxy learned from Thor, that Thanos decimated Xandar. Now, this is the scene where Nova was supposed to be introduced in. We were actually supposed to see this scene. Now, obviously, this scene did not make it into the movie, but you can tell in this scene where Thor tells the Guardians that Xandar has been destroyed, you can tell how devastated Star-Lord was.
Thanos already has the Power Stone because he stole it last week when he decimated Xandar.
So one of the first things that the Guardians are most likely going to do is return to Xandar to see how much damage has been done. This is most likely where we're going to see Nova get introduced to the MCU. Based off of the story that the Marvel writers have already wrote, there is one remaining survivor of the decimation of Xandar. And that one remaining survivor is Nova Corps member Richard Rider. The writers revealed this in an interview with The Hollywood Reporter when they said, "I remember going through several scenarios of Nova. Thanos could come and kill all the Nova Corps except one guy, Richard Rider." Now, since Richard Rider is going to be the only surviving member of the Nova Corps, since all of the other Nova Corps are going to be dead, this means that Richard Rider will inherit the entirety of the Nova Force. And although we probably won't see that happen in real time, what is most likely going to happen is that when the Guardians of the Galaxy return to Xandar, they will find Richard Rider there. At this point in time, it'll be an incredibly long time after the destruction of Xandar. It will be after the 5-year gap. So when the Guardians run into Richard Rider, he's already going to be Nova. He would have had the Nova Force for 5 years, probably a little more when the Guardians end up getting to him. But when the Guardians of the Galaxy go and find Nova on Xandar, they might find that the society has been reestablished. Because as it was revealed, Marvel planned to introduce the Xandarian World Mine. And the Xandarian World Mine actually has the power to restore the population. You see, the Xandarian World Mine's database actually has the brains of all the deceased members of the Nova Corps and the entire population of Xandar. And in the comics, when all of the population of Xandar was destroyed, the Xandarian World Mine actually restored the population by cloning everybody who once lived, essentially resurrecting Xandar. So when the Guardians go to Xandar in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, it may not be destroyed, it may have been restored by Nova. So this is how I think we could see Nova get introduced into the MCU. This is in no way confirmed, this is just my own opinion of how I think it could happen based off of everything that we already know. Nova is still a top priority for Marvel and the MCU according to its president Kevin Feige, and we know that before the plans were to tie him into Guardians of the Galaxy, so it would make sense that we would see him in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, especially if they plan on introducing him in another film before he gets his own solo movie. So let me know your thoughts on this, let me know what you think about this new information that has been revealed about the Zendarian world mine. And would you have liked to have seen Nova in Infinity War and Avengers Endgame? Or do you think that he is better off introduced after the fact? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And again, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like this video, and comment with your favorite superhero or villain so you can enter my giveaway for a chance to win an Xbox One or a PS4. As always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.